Hi everyone, it's Phil here from Ashland Leather, and we're back again with some brand new leather coasters. You might want to pause the video right now and go over to the sale page on our website, ashlandleather.com. Come back to the video because these coasters tend to go pretty quickly. I think the last time that we offered these coasters, about 1,000 of them went in 20 minutes. All right, before we get into some of the coaster offerings today, I wanted to mention to you our brand new podcast. Nick Horween and I are working on a podcast together. We've got 3 episodes out. It's called the Full Grain Podcast. So you can find the Full Grain Podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, I listen on Spotify, but we also have some companion clips over on a YouTube channel. So just search Full Grain Podcast over here on YouTube, and I'll link it in the description. All right, we're back again with a coaster grab bag, and we also have some coaster 4-packs. I wanted to show you some of the different leathers that are going to be available in the coaster grab bag. And the first color that we're going to start off here with is English Tan Dublin. Check out the incredible figuring on this leather. And we had a good amount of coasters with this really interesting figuring in the grain, so I decided to make 4-packs out of them. And if you're not familiar with the 4-packs, this is what you get. There's a little bit of extra packaging in the 4-packs of coasters, and we try to match all the colors together. The coaster 4-packs come in a cloth bag in our wax stamp box with our nice little hang tag, and of course in all that you get your 4 coasters. So here's a look at the 4 English Tan, one of the examples that you might expect to see. Again, we try to match these so the figuring all looks pretty similar together. And like I said, we had a good amount of these interesting English Tan Dublins with this very intense patterning on them. So I made several 4-packs. I think there's at least a dozen of these that will be available. Now let's take a look at some of the other coasters that you could expect to see in the grab bag. This is a piece of English Tan Dublin also, but there are many that didn't have that very intense figuring. And I wanted to give you a demonstration of what some of these other English Tan will look like. All of the leathers here, with the exception of the black Chrome Excel, have a very dramatic pull-up effect or a burst effect in the case of the English Tan Dublin here. You can see as I flex this leather, we're displacing the wax layer that was finished onto the surface of the grain, and we're revealing a little bit of those lighter undertones. So English Tan Dublin has an incredible burst effect. So speaking of incredible pull-up, I also have a navy Chrome Excel piece here, and you might look at the surface color and think this might just be like a dark navy or even a black. But as you flex the leather weight and reveal a little bit of those undertones, you can really see that really bright aqua blue color coming from underneath the surface layer. So really incredible depth of color on the navy Chrome Excel. And everything that we're looking at on the table right here, these are all the same colors and leathers that we use for our belts. So we're picking specifically thick, heavyweight leather. They're about 8 to 9 ounces thick. Although in the grab bag, there are a couple pieces I noticed that are a little bit thinner that we'll look at in a second. But navy blue Chrome Excel is a really underrated piece of Chrome Excel. I really love that vibrant aqua blue color from underneath. Another one here that turned out really well. This is natural Chrome Excel. This is the most popular Chrome Excel color in the world. This is the color that gets ordered most from Horween Leather Company. I actually have a few pairs of footwear in this same color. I really like how this one took the impression of the hot stamping that we put on the coaster. You can also see a little bit of a pull-up effect on this also, but it's much more mild and subtle when compared to some of the other colors. Now here's the black Chrome Excel, and this is the only Chrome Excel color that I'm aware of that doesn't have any pull-up. And that's because if you make a black that has a pull-up to it, it starts to look a little bit gray. So they actually finished this one a little bit different than some of the other Chrome Excels. So let's flex this one, take a look. You can see as I flex it, that color doesn't change at all. It's because there's a very solid finish layer over the surface, and none of this natural color from underneath is being revealed. Actually, in the podcast, we talk a little bit with Brett Viberg about T-core leather, and this is a really good example of what T-core is. So T-core is when you have one color finished on top of a different color. Tends to be most often seen in something like this, where you have a very light natural color underneath and a black finished onto the surface. And the reason that it's interesting is as this leather is worn in, it scuffs away that finish layer. So we're removing a little bit of the black, and the scrapes reveal a contrasting natural shade underneath, and people really like that two-tone effect. Here's another cool coaster. I really like the pull-up of this one. This is color number 8 Chrome Excel, the same color name as the famous color 8 shell cordovan, and they're trying to translate that same dark brown burgundy shade of the shell over to Chrome Excel, and that's what you see here. It's a little bit more cherry red when it's translated into different leathers, I've noticed, and especially if you look at the pull-up. Take a look at how vibrant and red the undertones are But it's a really beautiful contrast. There's something about those two layers of color together that look really magical. All right, so those are the colors that we have most of, and I wanted to show you some other random leathers that are appearing in the grab bag. This is a special one here, and we haven't done this leather in a very, very long time. You might think this is the natural Latigo or natural Essex, but this is actually a variation on all of that. It's a leather that Horween calls Stockyard. I'm not even sure if anybody's ordering this leather right now, but it's a little bit more pillowy and fluffy when you compare it to something like the Essex. I find the fibers to be a little less locked in together, so it's a little bit softer, slightly more raggy, although this is a thicker piece here that we did for belts a long time ago. And here's a fun one. This is actually a little bit thinner. This seems to be more like 4-ounce leather, but it will serve you perfectly well as a coaster. This is a really interesting look on the leather. And if I'm honest, I don't know what this is called, but this is a pretty neat look of what I was talking about earlier. If we were to look at a black leather that does not have any pull-up, it will look black forever, just like the black Chrome Excel. But if you want to have a little bit of depth of color, the leather starts to look gray, and that's what you're seeing here. I think what's making this one look gray is the wax that has been finished on the leather, and then it's had a little bit of a tumbling to it. So it sort of breaks apart those waxes, and it gives you this textured look, but also a little bit of a depth of color that ranges from a gray, sort of like a slate gray, to a darker gray. And the last one I wanted to share with you today, this is a really special leather. To me, this is the best black leather around. This is a leather called Dublin. And take a look at how nicely this Dublin took the impression. You can really see the three-dimensionality of the hot stamp that we put into this piece. This particular piece of Dublin is a little bit thinner than all the other coasters, and let's compare that together. So here's the 8 to 9 ounce belt weight stuff. On the right side is that Essex. I think this is about half the thickness, maybe like 4.5 ounces. This is what we normally use on wallets. So we did try to include a bunch of random stuff in the coaster grab bag. But like I said, most of the stuff that you're going to find in there are the same leathers that we use for our belts. So we've got natural Chrome Excel, Color 8 Chrome Excel. There's a really good amount of English tan Dublin. I'm even more excited about the 4-packs because I picked out really special pieces of Dublin with that incredible figuring and character. And like I said, there was a good amount of stuff that looks like this. So if you're into this look of that figuring, that epic pattern on the Dublin, we do have a good amount to offer. So thanks for checking out the video. Hopefully you're able to pick up some of the coasters in the grab bag. This is one of the more fun things that we do. We try to do it at least once a year, 2 times a year maybe. Just depends on how much leather I have. But it's really exciting how excited you guys get over these coasters. Coming up next week, we actually have some Halloween stuff. We're looking to finish off some special offerings for a Halloween private stock, hoping to launch it obviously before Halloween. So stay tuned for that. Don't forget to check out the podcast, Full Grain Podcast. I'm really having a good time over there with Nick Horween. We've got about 7 episodes recorded, and all those episodes are coming out on Monday. That's our current plan. So a new episode coming out this Monday. All right. Hope you have a good weekend and take care.